Okay, so for Interactive 3, we have a number of different ways that you'll be submitting assignments. So the first one are discussion posts, second one is assignments, third one is the final module, which is like one or two things that I have you finish for class. This will be very familiar if you've been in my other classes as well, so this part hasn't changed. One thing I want you to kind of focus in on here is like this yellow part that I've highlighted. So 74%. So C's get the degrees in digital design. So if you get anything below a 74%, you're then rocking a C minus, which is not a passing grade for your major. And that's a bummer because that means you have to, you know, re-register for the class. I'm not sure if this is an elective still, but you'd have to re-register for the class. You have to pay for it again, which is kind of a bummer. So let's aim high. Let's aim for A. I'll accept anything below that, but let's go ahead and stay above that C. As much as I love your faces, it would be a bummer to have to pay, for the class again. I recognize that all of these classes cost money and time, so let's just focus up here and see how far we get. If you need flexibility in your assignments, if you've had a very disruptive event in your life that's interfering with your ability to get things done in this class or just in your classes as a whole, please get in touch with me over Canvas, or you can email me and Michelle Carpenter, and let's see what we can do to get you back on track so that you pass the semester. I'm very flexible, so if you at least submit the projects on time, then you always have the opportunity to redo your work. If you submit it up to 3 days late, then you're still in the clear. If you submit it any further beyond that, then it's maximum 75% of your grade. And as you can see, 75, you're still rocking the C, but then you also have to nail, like you essentially have to get an A on a C project. So it's interesting math, but again, let's just stay in communication with me. And if you need help with time management or figuring out the right order to do things, just let me know. So let's go through some of the projects you'll be working on. So a note about this class. So Interactive 3 is really more about like design futures. So what is the future of design looking like? Some of the projects I have you do are kind of foundational. So for instance, creating or updating your portfolio website. That's one thing. Another one is creating a website from scratch. Well, kind of from scratch using Bootstrap, using Dreamweaver, which is an Adobe Creative Cloud program. So those are kind of foundational things. Those are ways for you to kind of peek under the hood to better empathize with the folks, like the engineers, who will be building the things that you design. The other themes and projects of this class are meant to give you kind of like the smattering of topics. And, this class, unlike Interactive 1 and 2, like Interactive 3 is more about kind of following curiosities, in trends of the marketplace. And you won't become an expert at any of these things. That would be very unrealistic for me to think you'll become an expert in AI or Internet of Things, over the course of less than 16 weeks. But what I want is just really exposure to it. So have some exposure, be able to think about it, be able to form an opinion on it, do enough design work to make yourself dangerous, and then move on to the next topic. So some students find that part of class frustrating, where they're not able to work on a project for the entire semester, and we move really quickly from one topic to the next. But I try my best to, again, like introduce breadth in this class, not so much depth. But rest assured, we're going to be working on designs beyond the pixel. So first part of class will feel very much like specific to the pixel, but once we get to design automation, refactoring previous designs for automation, working on chatbots and voice experiences using AI tools, and your connected UX experience, which will also include like an AR component. These are all things that will help you think, again, kind of like beyond the typical like deliverable for UX. And again, because you're spending so little time on each one, it's more about like the conceptual understanding of these technologies and how you would apply them as a UX designer. I don't expect you to become an AI engineer in this class. It's like not what you're going to do. All of this is still, still conceptual. Again, we're just thinking about how they apply to the topics of design. Okay, so I think I talked through the late work. If not, quick summary. If you submit everything on time, a max grade is 100. You have a grace period of 3 days. So most deliverables are due Sunday nights. Your grace period ends Wednesday for no penalty. After Wednesday, your max grade will be 75%. So like I mentioned before, you need a minimum of 74% to pass the class across all of your deliverables. So even if you get an A on every late assignment, that's still a max of 75%. So, gamble wisely, I guess is my parting advice there. Okay, so my modules, I mentioned this in the earlier part of the call. So my modules are 2 weeks long. Typically, you have prep work and reading due on the first week, and then the second week you're finishing up an assignment to deliver. And that's kind of the consistent format that I have for every 2 weeks. All right, so let's talk about the content. So I say it's subject to change. I typically don't change it partway through the class. However, if there's like some big new thing that's hitting tech, during the time of our class, I may want to switch some things up. So I just add that disclaimer just in case. So module 1, so first 2 weeks of class, you'll be focusing on some fundamentals. So if you haven't had any of my classes, you'll be creating your WordPress site for the first time. And I have like a set of requirements that you'll go through. If you are a previous student, hopefully you didn't delete your website. I tell you in every class not to delete it. So if you have, you'll have to restore it. If not, then hopefully it's ready to go and you can just, there's a couple of like extra things you have to add. But once you do that, you can submit it. You will then, for your project, you'll be kind of focusing on a design ethics essay. Essay is a misnomer. You're going to publish a blog article on your website, but essay is like the closest thing I can call it. So that's what you're going to be working on. The readings that I have, I'm going to be updating them, but so far this is just the general gist of the themes that you'll be focusing on. For Module 2 and 3, you'll be focusing on creating a website from scratch. And we're going to do that using Adobe Dreamweaver. For folks who have an engineering background, probably sounds like a joke, which is fine. You could use whatever tool you want. For non-engineers, I'd like you to use Adobe Dreamweaver because it's a really neat tool for folks who are just learning markup languages for the first time, because there is a visual view and there's also a code view. So like it's nice to see when you make changes in the design, you'll see the changes in the code. And sometimes you'll have to make like text updates in the code and then you'll see it update in the visual design. So it's a neat tool for designers to kind of like grok the changes that will happen when they make an update in one and what it looks like in the other. So that's why I have you use Dreamweaver. You will be using a library called Bootstrap. So Bootstrap is a collection of essentially pre-designed components. They're just like wireframes. They're just like the bare bones of a component library. And you can customize like the colors, the fonts, look and feel, that type of stuff. But those libraries are predefined, so it should speed up your workflow. And I will have, there's some tutorial videos that I didn't create, but other folks have created that I think will serve as a good introduction to how to use Dreamweaver and how to use Bootstrap. So you'll focus on that for Module 2 and 3. For Module 4 and 5, the big theme in tech right now is generative AI. So I've included that as part of our learning modules. So 4 and 5 will focus on generative AI. There'll be some materials that I pulled together. Some of the initial ones I found were through Google, but there's a couple of other sources that I also want to include just to round out your knowledge base. So in Module 4, you will, after going through all of like the lectures and the readings, you will take a look at some of the old design projects you worked on, and you will identify ways where AI can improve the content or the design and or automate some of the functionality or design. And then you will actually build it into your project. So you're going to do some design updates. So hopefully you still have the original working files. If not, let me know. we'll figure something out. Like you might just have to choose an app that currently exists, and then you figure out like how like what kind of updates you'd make and how Gen AI would improve the functionality or automation in the app. But ideally, it would be a project that you've created because it's kind of nice to like go back and re-examine the work that you've done. For Module 5, you will create an AI-driven chatbot or voice experience using a tool called VoiceFlow. You get a free educational license, so you'll be able to use kind of their like no-code editor. It's like a drag and drop type of interface, really neat. And you'll get to play around with some of those AI tools to see what kind of products you can build. So your goal there is to deliver to me a case study and a AI-driven chatbot using that tool. Module 6, 7, and 8. That is probably the largest project you'll work on. Well, that is that is literally the largest project you'll work on for this class, and it is an Internet of Things project. So it is essentially like a connected UX experience that you're designing, where you have you have products that you've essentially like enabled through the use of the internet. So like you put the internet into a water glass, you put the internet into a medicine bottle, that type of stuff. And you'll design a digital experience around that physical product. Your goal in those 3 modules, which is 6 weeks, is not to engineer or fabricate any of that stuff from scratch. Your goal is to create a collection of artifacts that help illustrate what your design concept is. And it culminates with a demo video. So it's very similar to like if you were to pitch something to a tech incubator, or if you're trying to pitch a new idea at work. The collection of things that I'm asking for as a deliverable in these modules will help illustrate and better explain what this idea is. So it takes essentially what becomes an elevator pitch, and attaches like a lot of, well, not a lot, just a couple of different artifacts to help people better understand, especially non-designers, help them understand what your concept is and to kind of like see it in motion. All right, and then the final module, which is your finals, it's the last week of class. What I ask here is that you update your LinkedIn profile, and I have specific requirements of what I'm looking for. So you're either updating one that you already made in some of my previous classes, or you're creating one from scratch if you haven't made one yet. So either way, it's a good time. And then you'll also work on an app critique as well, as a way to, kind of like demonstrate how you're thinking about design now that you've kind of gone through the class. So, all right, if you need any clarification, if there's something missing, doesn't make sense, please let me know. Chances are you're not the only person with that same question, and I would rather know ahead of time so I can make the adjustments so that everyone has the information they need to do well in this class. If you need any additional support, please message me through Canvas. Again, if you've had something very disruptive happen in your life and you need more flexibility and it's impacting multiple classes, go ahead and kick off an email to myself and to Michelle Carpenter, and we can help troubleshoot it. I also have office hours that I've set up for my classes. So I'm also teaching Interactive 1. I'm teaching all classes. There's 2 of them, so almost 40 students. So you're going to be sharing office hours with those folks as well. So if you think you might need time, just book it. You can always cancel. That's fine. But I've got times a couple days a week, and I try to give coverage both morning and night. I work full time at Amazon, so I'm trying to like do office hours before my workday and after my workday. So yeah, so you'll see it in my calendar scheduler. I also provide the links in every module as well as in the syllabus. So it should be difficult to not see. I guess the right way to put it. Cool. So I hope you have a great first week of class, and that all of your teachers and all of your other classes are awesome. I look forward to seeing all the wonderful work that you do in this class. And remember, this class is more about breadth than it is about depth. So we're going to learn about a lot of different topics, and you may not get the time that you want to really like dive deep and focus on it for a significant amount of time. But the goal of the class is just to get you interested in some of the topics that are really hot right now in the UX industry. And hopefully it serves as a roadmap for things that you want to pursue after the semester is over. So, all right, have a good one. Thanks.